to the Unleash Success podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome to the Unleash Success show. Around the new year, everyone starts making goals, and maybe you guys have some goals that you want to start a new business, or maybe you have some goals to lose some weight. Sometimes we get really motivated for a week or two, and then we fall off track. Well, whether it's growing a successful business or accomplishing your fitness goals, our guest today is here to help. Prince Brathwaite, aka Trooper Prince. Prince was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, in pretty humble beginnings. Growing up in a neighborhood where gang activity and crime was pretty common, somewhere along the line, he became convinced that his destiny was up to him. A true entrepreneur, he would take every chance that he could get to become successful. He even tried starting a clothing line, planning parties, tried becoming a nurse to earn money for business until eventually he realized his passion as a personal trainer. Since 2007, he has been certified personal trainer through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. And while building his resume as an elite personal trainer in New York City, earning several other certifications, he even won first place in a men's physique classic competition. In 2012, he decided to finally go out on his own and run his own business. As the founder and CEO of Trooper Fitness, he runs a successful fitness studio in the heart of New York City. Trooper Fitness is a studio that belongs to bring people together from all walks of life and is successful at making its members not only stronger physically, but mentally, empowering them with confidence. Trooper Prince, thanks for coming on the Unleash Success show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure, man. I'm really excited to share your story. So, born and raised in Brooklyn, you said there was a little bit of tough neighborhood and upbringing. What's going on? How did you get out of Brooklyn and start this fantastic fitness studio?
Thanks. I feel like no matter where you're from, you're going to have your own challenges. Mine were, kind of my neighborhood where I grew up. There wasn't a lot of people doing what I didn't see a lot of people doing, what I wanted. In fact, it was hard to figure out what I wanted to do because there wasn't a lot of role models. So, I started to seek out different role models. And, I guess just constantly looking for it, being frustrated as a youth, not finding someone that can show me the ropes or the way. I remember when I was a child, or I was in high school looking for, trying to choose my college degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to make money. I guess if you're thinking about, you're a kid and everything you've done for the most part hasn't been towards making a living. When you're told, hey, you better figure out how to make money for yourself, and that's kind of the focus. I wasn't thinking about what would make me happy. I was thinking about what would make me the most money. But I really had one of the problems I find with the school system, at least where I grew up, was that they don't really lay out your options. There was doctor, lawyer, the basics. But I knew that that's the way I saw it. Being a doctor, I'm like, going to school for 10 years, 8 to 10 years, and then coming out with a big salary just to buy, I'm like, maybe I could buy a bigger house and buy a nicer car. But if I don't know how to manage money, I'm still going to end up being in debt like everyone around me. So I knew that I wanted to be wealthy. That was my goal.
Where did you get the motivation? Obviously you said there wasn't a lot of role models out there. And was there someone in your life that kind of helped you through this? And I think you said your family had a lot of helped you build some really good work ethics and stuff. What was kind of the turning point for you to start looking for something else?
Yeah, I would say that, the biggest blessing that I had as a kid was my family. They definitely instilled in me that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And they would constantly say that. I don't think they knew how to direct me towards my options, but they really brainwashed me in a positive way to believe that I could do whatever I wanted. And I believe that. They made me feel special. They made me feel like I could do whatever I wanted. I just needed to figure out what I wanted to do. My uncle played a huge role in building confidence in me. He's currently a math professor, actually. He, for a long time when we grew up, he was in school, not really working, just in school, telling us that we needed to go to college. And it kind of deterred me, to be honest, because he was in school, but he never picked a career. He was a smart guy, just wasn't doing anything with his smarts, in my opinion. But
interesting. You said that your family instilled in your beliefs, kind of brainwashed you that you could do whatever you wanted to do.
Right.
And I got to tell you, man, I was just talking to a group of entrepreneurs, and that single belief is something that my parents also told me. Yeah. And it wasn't that, Corey, you're really smart. It was, Corey, as long as you work hard enough, you can do anything you want.
Right.
And whether it's brainwashing or not, I don't care, because that belief gave me incredible results. And I think Absolutely. It really helps us. That's so cool, man. So yeah. I know you said you would do anything. You even started a clothing line with your cousin, I think. And then, right. You're planning parties. You decided to jump into nursing school. What was kind of your motivation to try all these different things? And how did you end up finally settling on personal training?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you bring up my cousin, and I looked up to him actually. At 16, he was interning at FUBU at the time, which was a pretty big clothing line in New York. I mean, the office was in New York City.
Huge clothing line.
Yeah, huge at the time. And what was great was that he actually he brought me along with him sometimes to like certain meetings. That introduced me to Manhattan. That introduced me to being around businesses. At the time, it was right around the time when I found myself around a lot of gang activity. Just people that were in Brooklyn and the neighborhoods never left the neighborhood. And New York is one of those funny places where you've got the inner city, the kids in the inner city who never leave their neighborhood. And I was one of those kids as well. And it's funny because, if you know anything about New York, there is a lot of money in New York, but there's such a separation and it's such a barrier to entry that you really don't even know you just don't know how to get there. You're like, clearly there's money out there. I just don't know how to access it. But I definitely, through him getting that internship and inviting me just to come to certain meetings that he was a part of, it was great. And when I told you about the clothing line, it was actually his clothing line that I had I gave him some ideas and we would work on it together. And he learned how to design without any schooling as well. And I was trying to make that work. Just maybe this could be it. This could be our big break. Let me, anything you need me to do, I'll do it. I'll go to the stores. I'll drop samples off. We'll figure it out together. I just think the pace that I wanted to move at was just different than his. So, that awesome. That kind of fell off. But yeah.
You're so right, man. I mean, I lived in New York City for 7 years, and if I turn right, it could be, multi-million-dollar buildings, these huge things. You turn left and it's all of a sudden the projects.
Yeah.
It could be that different that quickly. And so you're jumping around to these clothing lines, or you're learning from your cousin.
Right.
And yeah, I'm sorry. I just heard the car horns, by the way, when you were talking. I'm like, how did you get to here? Your studio's on what street again?
It's in Midtown East. It's on East 54th between 2nd and 3rd Avenue, which is the heart of New York City.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you could just hear the cars, the horns just every day, all day, every day. I remember that.
Can't get away from it.
Yeah, no way. No matter where you live, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, you said you were kind of getting into some gang activity. How did you, because it's tough for kids, man. I mean, especially you got no role models. You got introduced to this. This was good. How did you step away from that? Especially, I find a lot of people tend to hang out with their friends and their loved ones, and they struggle to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
To say, hey, listen, I want to do this with my life. And you got people who not necessarily want to bring you down, but they just want to hang out with you. And yet they're bringing into some negative activity.
Yeah.
How did you make the decision to jump out of this and say, I'm not going to get involved in that gang activity. I'm not going to do that, and kind of keep pushing forward in this entrepreneur journey?
Well, I'll start by saying I did at the time. It's funny. You can get in such a warped mindset when you're around it. Because even if you had spoken to me at the time, I knew that it made no sense to be in a gang. And I would have told you that in junior high school. I said, people who join gangs are just looking for protection, and you end up needing more protection when you're in a gang because you get into more trouble. So I knew that, and still, I still ended up involved. And now in retrospect, I realized I didn't know at the time that I had leadership qualities. And the story, if you don't delve into it, it sounds like I was following. But a lot of the reasons I got into trouble was because no one bothered me, but I just wouldn't let people bother my friends. And I'd find myself in front of the situation a lot. And a lot of my friends were getting into gangs, and before you knew it, I was constantly getting in battles with their rival gang. And it was, by the point, it was like association. So, it's just constant. But the way that I ended up getting out of it, like I said, was just being introduced to the city. I did go to college briefly. I think I mentioned to you that my intention was to go to school for nursing. And I really wanted to just change my life, being around. I kind of just slowly moved myself away from the negativity. It was a slow transition. It's kind of like you're living in two worlds, honestly. I think that some people have the ability to do that. I've always been someone who's pretty well articulated, but I could, right now, if I go back to my old neighborhood, if you heard me talking, I'd sound completely different. Not necessarily on purpose. And it's funny, and to speak about that, I think there were times during that transition where I had friends from Manhattan and I had friends that were from my neighborhood that were trying to do good too. So if I had like an event, because I started party promoting, I would try to invite both of them, and I would go out with, some people from the city that I met when I started personal training. And then I had some old friends from the neighborhood. And I remember a particular time, one of my friends said to me, after we went out, he was like, when we were hanging out, because we got a limo and we drove in from Brooklyn and went into the city and picked up my new friends from the city. And I guess my vernacular changed when they walked in, when they got in the limo. And my friend at the end of the night, he respected me enough to tell me that, I respect you. You're one of the, in his own words, you're one of the realest dudes I know. But I feel like you just changed the way you were talking, and I didn't know if you were being fake with me or fake with them. And
Dang.
So I said, I was a pretty aggressive person at the time. So my initial reaction was like, who the hell are you talking to? But I said, I respect the fact that you asked me that, and I'm not being fake with anybody. It's as simple as, if I can speak French and a French person walks in the room, I'm gonna speak French. You wouldn't go to Spain and speak French or vice versa. So if you're bilingual, why wouldn't you speak so that people can understand you better? So I think that some people have that skill set. I think that is something that I naturally do. I adapt. One person that I think does that very well is 50 Cent, the rapper.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. You heard of him?
Yeah.
If you follow him like on social media, he's very confusing because he's very bipolar, for lack of a better way to put it, at least from looking at it. But I think that's kind of what it takes to go from the lifestyle that I came from to being able to, to be successful in the environment that I'm in now.
Absolutely. I mean, being able to survive in different areas, you kind of got to adapt to the environment. And I'm curious to know, because a lot of people, they'll see some shift. You spend 6 months building a business, you spend 6 months working in the city, kind of getting to know different people. And they say, I don't know if you're being fake with them or fake with me. Right. I feel like you've changed. So is it that you changed? Are you trying to be fake, or are you just being you and you're trying to, hustle your way to the top? What is it?
Yeah, that's a good. In no way will I ever compromise who I am in terms of what I believe makes me who I am. And me being tough and speaking the way I speak doesn't make me who I am. I think that like I said, I think it's a skill set to be able to speak multiple vernaculars. I can't speak every language. I can't, but if I can, like I said, if I can speak French, I'm going to speak French to someone who speaks French. Why would I try to make them understand English if it's going to take too long so by no means am I being fake.
And I never would think you're fake, man. You're definitely one of the realest dudes I know. And every time we're meet in person, man, you're so genuine, which is what I love about you.
Yeah, I think that's why we clicked too when I met you. I like real is when, vibes. You can tell when someone's real from vibes, not vernacular. That's silly.
Exactly. And it's funny because if you walk into a board meeting where, you're suit and tie up, or like some professional meeting, everybody's acting in a certain way, a lot different than they are on Saturday night at the bar or something like that. Right.
There you go. There you go.
I get it. And like when I go to the gym too, man, sometimes I turn up and people are like, man, you look upset. I'm like, no, I'm just in the zone.
Yeah. Even to go back, even in my neighborhood, they don't realize it, but the way they're talking on the street, they don't talk to their mothers that way. So
exactly.
Kill the noise.
Yeah. Cool, man. Very cool. So where you're at right now, in this time frame, I'm curious, what was your definition of success right now?
My definition of success well, I think for anyone I think it has to do with happiness. I think success will mean different things for different people. Mine is, I think, well, let's back up a little. I think happiness is kind of synonymous to success. And I think what gives people happiness ultimately is purpose. I think that's the common denominator. No matter what you want, I think purpose is what makes people happy. People who find themselves miserable or not happy, it's usually because they can't find out they can't find a purpose to lock in on. For me, I didn't know this, but I like helping people. I like giving to people. And I've been doing that several ways. Personal training, I did it when I first did it. It was just a hustle. I was in school at the time. And I started doing personal training on the side. And I did it because I liked working out myself. And I was like, oh, well, I can just help people with my knowledge, and I can build on that. Because at the time I was working security, which I hated. It made me miserable while I was in school. So I ended up doing personal training. And somewhere along the line, I went from liking it to loving it. And the difference, what made me love it, was when people told me that was affecting their lives. Prince, you have no idea what you did for my life. You made me believe in myself, even beyond weight loss, beyond muscle gain, just being able to affect somebody and give them confidence, I think, and show them the way is priceless to me. Maybe it's because I always wanted someone to show me the way, just ultimately, like in life generally. Man. So,
absolutely. I'm right there with you. It's incredible feeling to affect somebody's life like that. And you said something there.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say, make no mistake. I definitely, I also want to be, I want to be as good as I can. And I do want to, there is a fiscal goal I do have fiscal goals as well. Make no 100%. Mistake. I don't want to make it sound like I don't have personal, like I don't want to grow personally and make money for myself and build a family. So that's part of it as well. I
think that both things you said are fantastic. You have to impact your own life first before you can ever impact anybody else's life.
Oh, yes.
That's my belief. So if you can't, build your own business, how are you going to help other people build your own business? If you can't get fit yourself, how are you going to help other people get fit and impact their life? If your mind's not right, nobody's going to believe you. You're not going to be real for them. I mean, you talk about you help them beyond fitness build confidence in themselves just because of your attitude and your character and who you are.
Yeah.
You also said finding purpose, and purpose gives you happiness, and ultimately that's kind of your success and how you defined it. How did you find your purpose?
I think it's very hard to put it in words. I think just being true to yourself. And I've come to find that this is probably a similarity with most entrepreneurs, at least successful ones. I am a brat. I am a brat. I want what I want.
What do you mean by that?
I want what I want. I think I don't like to follow other people's rules. I think that not everyone has to be the same. I have a team built of people with different personalities, different drives. Mine is doing what I want to do. So I think that I found my purpose because ultimately I wasn't looking for someone to tell me my purpose. I just did what I wanted. I just do what I want all the time, like within boundaries, of course, because there's always a bigger one and a smaller one. But I think that's how I found my purpose. I didn't want to do security. So I said, you know what? I like working out in the gym. Let me just work there while I'm doing this in school. And I found what I want because in the moment, I just did what I wanted as long as it's not hurting someone else. I'm all about doing what you want. I think that's how I found it.
So how'd you have the courage to just keep on, trying new things? Because a lot of people kind of stay like, oh, well, everybody's a fitness trainer now. That won't work for me. It's saturated. Did you just say, you know what, I enjoy doing this and I want to do it? How'd you find the courage?
Honest to God, honestly, like the way that this is what worked for me. I think everyone's different and has confidence for different reasons and take risks for different reasons. I grew up taking a lot of risks with a low reward. In some cases, like, just being in violent situations, and knowing, like, walking into a situation, knowing that, I could die right now, but my friend needs me, or I know what I'm walking, just whatever it took to build that up. When I deal with business, and I still, to this day, I think, it baffles some people that do business with me, is I'm not really afraid to quote unquote fail, because I'm like, I'll be alive tomorrow to do it again, to try again. And I feel like I've been battle tested a lot in a lot harder situations than messing some money up, if that makes sense. So that's why if it makes sense to me, I'm pulling the trigger.
So, you talk about failure and that, you're okay as long as you're alive tomorrow, but we've all faced failure. That's the only way to really become successful is eventually you do fail. And it's what you do when you face it and how you overcome it. So what would you say along your entrepreneurial journey was your greatest failure and how did you overcome that?
My greatest failure. That's a tough one because I don't dwell on failures. Failure is a funny word. And I want people to, when I say the word failure, I want people to understand what I perceive it as, because it's definitely not the end. It's a lesson. I'm sure, people say it's kind of trendy to say it now, but I truly do believe that a failure is actually just a lesson. I can think of two, failures. You could define them as failures. One was one was the clothing line, but that wasn't really my thing. But party promoting was the first entrepreneurial attempt that I made. I originally started it with one friend. We started a company called Rock Royale, which is basically an entertainment company. I still think it's a cool name. Basically, what it was like, it was like, how you rock your clothing. It was like rock. And I was defining Royale was like prestige. So I was like, rock your prestige, and that was kind of like the premise of like when you're partying, like, live lavishly while you're partying, live the life, maybe a little bit more than what you actually have. Like that was the idea behind it. So that actually failed. And I learned a lot from that quote unquote failure. I started with one friend. I ended up adding more friends, and I kind of just gave everybody roles. I said, you know what, none of us knew business. I said, we got to figure this out together. You're going to handle the marketing. You're going to handle the finance. I know you don't know how to do it. Figure it out. You're going to do, and I did that. And that was the worst idea. I also tried to do, and I was trying to keep like a round table. Like, listen, yes, I started this, but we're all equal partners in this. Let's do this. And it was just really I didn't realize at that time the differences between people's drives and, and everyone's wired differently. And you can't just give anyone any role. You can't tell Shaquille O'Neal to play point guard. He's a great center, but if you don't find that skill set and recognize that that's what he's good for, then you're going to losing team. And I think that was what happened. I gave people roles without even just, you do this, you do that. And it wasn't the right roles for them. So I learned. It wasn't a failure to me.
I love that. Same way, man. Failure is just a learning experience. And if you can learn from it, then almost it's not even a failure. It's a success because now you can build on that success. You can avoid that mistake next time, or it prepares you for something even more important in the future, which going on to Trooper Fitness, when you started that in 2012, how'd you build a team? How'd you create this brand? How did you make it so that you're in this amazing fitness studio in the heart of New York City?
Well, first of all, I started off by myself. I was Trooper Fitness in a sense. I was working at a gym called New York Sports Club. I ended up becoming a manager there, which I learned a lot of business skill sets, which is it was the greatest way to go about it because any mistakes that I made, they kind of corrected me, and it wasn't my money I was messing up; it was theirs, and they kind of made sure that I learned it. So it was a good, for me, that was school, was working as a manager at New York Sports Club. But when I started Trooper Fitness, I basically, when I was managing, I also taught classes at New York Sports Club. It was part of my way to connect with the members. Not a lot of managers did that, but I found that if I could stand in front of 40 members at a time, that's a great way to push a promotion or get people to kind of get on the new thing that we're doing. But through doing that, my classes actually did pretty well. So I got a pretty nice following in New York Sports Club as well. Eventually started doing outdoor boot camps that picked up. And mind you, I want to say I did do, here's another failure, because I tried it in Brooklyn, and it did not go well. I remember doing boot camps in the park, and the only people that showed up was my mother, my sister, and I had like one member that today I call her my sister, that came there. I mean, my mother was paying me $20 for a boot camp, And eventually, after a few months of it, I'm like, I'm just charging my mother to work her out. And I kind of gave up. I was like, this is horrible. I'm not a businessman. I'm just charging my mother. So, God bless her. She's passed away now, but she did, things like support like that. It was like relentless support from people that care. Those things do matter. I don't want to make it sound like I'm amazing all on my own. There's been a lot of support that's made me successful, at least to the level that I am at right now. But getting back on track. So what did work was, so I kind of gave it up, and then I was focused on management, focused on New York Sports Club, and I kind of got back into it. It actually started from me doing a class. I don't know if you've heard of Spartan Race.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's an obstacle course race. A lot of OCR racing is a pretty big, trendy thing right now. For those that don't know what OCR racing is, it's basically it's like a race, but you're doing obstacles while you're running. So you'll run and then you have to do monkey bars. You'll run and you have to crawl. So I was teaching boot camps in New York Sports Club, and I had intended to do my first OCR race. And I said, hey, I'm going to start training for a race. If anyone wants to do it with me, just give me your email. And to my surprise, I got like 20 to, every day, 20 people in the class gave me their emails each time. So then I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing training for it in the park separately. And, I charged a fee for it, and it grew from there. And before you knew it, I had a good following that was independent of New York Sports Club. They told their friends, and it was word of mouth. And I had a pretty good scheme with the marketing that helped too, but that was the beginning of Trooper Fitness, honestly.
So, well, what was the marketing plan that you had there? I'm just curious now. You said it.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. It was this pricing scheme, and it was it was $20 to take the class, and if you bring a friend, it was half off for you, and if you brought two friends, it was free for you. So, which is pretty simple, but it worked.
You incentivize people to bring more people.
Exactly. So people would bring two friends, and however they split the cost, it worked. They did it. The classes were packed.
So I'm hearing this theme of just, the failures are a lesson. When you finally jump out into Brooklyn and you're charging your mom to come work out with you, what did you say to yourself when you shut that down? When you stop doing it, what goes through your mind in this moment of realization that this isn't working, and to the point where you end up trying something else for the Spartan race?
So it wasn't like it was a clear plan. I didn't decide, I'm not going to do this. Let me do a Spartan race. I shut it down because it just wasn't working. I was like, this is not working. And my ultimate goal, the reason I was managing at New York Sports Club, was to eventually open my own gym. In my mind, I expected it to be like a New York Sports Club, a traditional gym. So that's why I didn't really quit. I was like, I'm done with that. That's not working. Let me get back to work and climb the ladder. The goal was to become an operations manager and then a district manager until I understand the whole system and then open my own gym. That was the plan. But along the lines, when opportunities present themselves, I jumped on it.
So I guess I'm seeing it a little bit more clear now. You had this ultimate vision, this ultimate goal to learn as much as you could through this to end up building your own gym. So a minor failure along the way was just a trial and error. That didn't work. On to the next one. Right.
So let me back it up a little bit just from the beginning in terms of I've always wanted to own my own business. I think I briefly mentioned that when I was in school trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I ended up choosing nursing because it was a 2-year degree and I could easily just make I would come out probably at 2021 making, I think at the time it was like 60, 70,000 a year. And I was like, maybe I can still stay at home and save that money and invest it in real estate or something or some type of business. I had no idea what yet, but I knew that I didn't want to work for anyone. I wanted to do my own thing. And the parties was an idea. I was just finding ways to just try to, while I was doing nursing, I wasn't happy, but I was trying to find a way to make my own thing. Like I said, while I was in school, I was doing security as a job. I switched to personal training because I felt like I'd be happier. Just follow my gut. I didn't like security. I ended up doing personal training and I realized that I loved it. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to open my own gym. And I just chased that and the rest is history.
How do you stay so focused and motivated? Because a lot of people, I was just watching an episode of Shark Tank reruns and this kid was coming out and he's just, I've been working so hard for months or even maybe a couple years on this project. And sometimes it takes 5 or 10 years. How did you stay so focused and motivated throughout this time?
I think that's also a personality thing for me as well. I do have tunnel vision for the most part. That's how I describe it. I'm not good at everything. One of those things is multitasking. I like when I'm focused on something, I like to focus on that. Do I think that I can do multiple things? Yes. And I think that where I'm from, a lot of people look up to people like 50 Cent, which I admire him, Jay-Z, those guys, those rappers. They did music. They have a clothing line. They bought a thing in Barclays, and people go, "Yeah, I want to be a businessman like that, and I want to do multiple things." But they fail to see that they started with music only. Like they focused. They started with a tree trunk. They didn't start with branches. You start with a tree trunk and you break out into branches. You got that tree trunk needs to be solid.
Absolutely.
So that's why I stick to one thing. Even though I know I can do more things, I stick to one thing. People come to me with business ideas all the time. Hey, Prince, I got this great scheme. If it has nothing to do with Trooper Fitness, I'm not interested right now. Period.
Right. You want to be an expert in your field. And I talk about monotasking. People will see I'm doing a lot of different things, but really I just monotask day by day. I like to get really, really good at something in 6 weeks or 8 weeks and then move on to the next project.
Yeah.
I didn't become an orthodontist just by trying it for a couple weekends. It took me 10 years.
Right. You gotta have a base. Gotta have a base.
Exactly. And that base allows me to do a lot of other stuff.
You said something earlier too that I wanted to kind of respond to that I think is very important, about kind of getting yourself right first before you can help others. And I think that's the process that kind of works for everything. And I do read a lot of books, and I read this book from Stephen Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Not sure if you're familiar with it. I love that book.
Absolutely. Sharpen the saw.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, some of these books are like, because when I didn't know anything, I think these things kind of served as, just like a base of knowledge, like to know how to operate. And, one of the rules, it talks about there's levels of maturity, starting with independence first. You have to get yourself right. And then, I'm sorry, excuse me. You start dependent. You have your parents take care of you or someone's taking care of you. We all start depending on someone. The next level needs to be independence. You need to work on getting yourself right first. This is true for all relationships, not just business, friendships. You need to love yourself before you can love someone else. Intimate relationships. It's just what works. I mean, I believe it 100%. So it's dependence, independence, and then next would be interdependence, which is when you're working with someone. But you can't work with somebody until you have your stuff together first. So I
agree. That's a great book. That's a great tool of reference too. Super helpful in developing the right habits. Speaking of habits, what are some habits you have for your day-to-day activities? What's your morning look like? Do you read a lot? So you read a lot of books. Do you read every day?
I go through phases. Sometimes I read books. Sometimes I listen to podcasts. Sometimes I listen to just motivational speeches. Sometimes I just meditate and think about what I want. Close my eyes and think about what the next step is.
Like visualization?
Visualization. I guess that's how you would, that's I guess how you say it. But I definitely visualize what I want. One of the best things that I do, the funnest things that I do, I should say, is, now that I have my first studio, as I sometimes I close my eyes and I take myself back, because I'm a very visual, I dream clear and I think clear for the most part. So I close my eyes and I put myself back at where I was when I wanted to open a studio. And I make sure it's so clear. I want to make myself believe that my eyes are closed and I'm at New York Sports Club with my eyes closed, thinking about when I finally open my own studio. And I take myself there till I fully believe I'm in the break room in New York Sports Club, taking a nap between sessions. And I do that. And then right when I feel like I'm there, I open my eyes just to tell myself, you did it. Now close your eyes again and picture where you're going next. So it's like time travel for me, and it feels so amazing. It might sound weird. I'm just telling you like how I do it and how I feel it.
No, that's awesome. I actually, similarly, I do visualization, and anytime I'm doing a big event for speaking, or anytime I'm doing something that's really important, I constantly visualize being successful at it. I constantly visualize what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. I anticipate what could go wrong, or how I'll respond if I get the no or the yes. And it's so powerful. It's helped me get a lot of meetings with important people. It's helped me create, different business ideas and really become more successful. I love what you said about looking back and visualizing where you were 5 years ago to where you are now, because we forget sometimes how amazing, life is, how much we can appreciate what we've accomplished to this point.
It helps you believe the next step. Like, I believed then and it worked. So now the next step's going to work. Of course, that's what happens. It works. I tell myself it worked and it will work again. I wanted to ask you a question just from what you said. Sorry. When you said you were visualizing, when you're visualizing before one of your speeches, or when you're about to do something, you say you're visualizing, thinking about what could go wrong. Do you get nervous?
Yeah, man. I mean, like, for me, sometimes I feel I'm not nervous, but that's not true. I'm just not nervous when I'm doing it. Right up into that point, I am nervous. I mean, it's part of it, because you care so much about what's about to happen.
Totally.
You care about yourself, how you come across. And a lot of times I care. It's funny. I was doing a talk and I was worried I was going to disappoint someone in the audience. And I was like, man, when I got off and he said, great job. I was like, thanks. That was all I needed. I needed you to say that.
Totally.
And you want to do a great job because that's what we love to do. So of course I'm nervous. I just get excited about being nervous. I kind of transfer that energy to adrenaline. I mean, before 100%. my last speech I did was in front of 600-700 people. And I was up till 1 a.m. just rehearsing over and over and over again. And I don't like having a direct script, but I was just going over in my head and again and again and again how I visualize how they were going to respond to what I said. And I'm not joking. It happened. Like they all, stood up when I had them stand up. They all got excited. I could visualize seeing people, and I didn't know what they were going to look like until I actually did it. And this is what I was going to say too, is that Steve Jobs once said, life's going to happen. And the only way we know the order of things is by looking back and connecting the dots. So it's like when we visualize into the future, I mean, to me, when I actually do it, then I look back and see the order. But I like to visualize what's going to happen in the future first and create that path.
Absolutely. No, I feel exactly the same way. And I figured you did too. I think what stops a lot of people is that they let nervousness debilitate them, where I think, and you just confirmed it, when I get nervous, I come alive. I'm willing to fight. I'm like, no, we're going to get this right. I'm nervous, but failure is not an option. Let's do this. Let's do this. And you know what? Sometimes you do fail, but whatever, you get back to it.
Exactly. It's just we talk about this a lot too. It's just the meaning we associate with what happens, because you and I both experience the same nervousness, the same anxiety, the same, I guess, fear of failing, but we use that as energy to motivate us and push through, as opposed to some people stop. And to shift that focus, I feel like for me, I've been actually struggling with this in the last year, where I just wanted to do all these different things, and I get kind of pigeonholed into the orthodontic startup, right? With starting the podcast, it's like, wow, Corey, why do you want to do that? And I'm like, well, because I love it. And so I was fear, like there was a lot of fear, but I was like, you know what? Let me just do it and get the result. Once I get the result, then I can figure out if it worked or not. And if it doesn't work, I'll move on. But I committed to 100 episodes, so I'm going to be here for 2 years.
That's awesome. No, totally. I think if you thought of it and then you didn't get nervous, I would have said, don't even do it. It's probably not the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Right. So, it's like you almost just don't care about it.
Yeah, you don't care enough if you're not nervous. So find something that makes you nervous.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So definitely that visualization strategy is great for gratitude and for kind of figuring out what you're going to do in the future and seeing it happen. Anything else you do in the morning? Like what time do you usually get up? I know you're at the gym all the time, but do you work out yourself in the morning or usually nighttime? I
actually just worked out right before we did this. So I get up just about 4:30 every morning as of right now. And I go to work. I do run my gym, but I also teach classes. I still do a little bit of I do personal training. I shouldn't say a little bit. I do personal training mostly in the morning and the evening. In the middle of my day is more filled with the admin stuff, the planning. So I get up, I visualize, I drive the same route to work. Or if I take the train, that's usually when I listen to like podcasts or in the car. And then, I usually teach early classes or personal training in the morning. And then around 9 o'clock, when everybody business starts, is when I'll start coordinating with everyone, emails and stuff like that.
That's awesome. And so with your business, as you've grown, I mean, I know you have a team of people. How's it been building out that team in your day, and how does that help you?
So that's also the fun. And when I say helping people, I view my job as an owner and really as a manager to my guys. I look at it as by helping them grow, then the big picture, then Trooper grows from it. So I do that as a direct correlation. It's like Trooper's a garden, and I got to water the plants to have a nice garden. So I try to give them everything I can. It's a great process. My next plan, the next step for me, and you're probably gonna ask me that, but the next step for me is to expand. We have one studio, and the plan is to expand, to open a second location, and eventually be a global entity. And kind of like you said, I mean, I know that that's what I want. And then I said, okay, what's next? Oh snap! I need to start building my team. I don't just want to hire anyone. The reason that we are successful is because of the personal connections that we build, the way we do business. Like I said, the business started with me, and then I had a few close trainers that are very passionate about what they do. They don't just walk in and do the class. They don't just come collect the check and leave. They give a lot of passion, and people respond to that. So how can I create that on a larger scale? A lot of people will say, well, how can you replicate that? And that's one of the challenges that I've given myself, is to that as we expand, to keep that same quality. And so for me, the next step has been building my team, and I'm very happy with the guys that I have right now. I think obviously there's bias, but I think we have like the best team, period, in the fitness industry, I swear.
Nice. Yeah. I think it sounds like you want to find people, from what you're saying, that have similar values and goals and passions that you do to really help build the brand.
Absolutely. I was going to say, because as we expand, I can't be at every location giving my energy to those locations. I need people kind of replicating what I've been doing in this one studio, caring and knowing all the members' names. Like, I won't know the members, but you know what? Hopefully these guys will grow into management, and that's what they'll do. So that's kind of why it's such an important thing for me to build these guys up personally.
I always see you guys with all these different classes and everything. I mean, how many fitness members do you guys have on a daily basis come through your doors?
On a daily basis? Well, we do 15 classes a day. We do, I guess you could call it small group training. Our strength classes have about 12 people. We keep it at 12 for quality assurance, to make sure that they're getting a personal touch. We have our high intensity classes, such as boot camp, sports conditioning. Those we cap at 20, a little less to watch, but still want to be able to watch and make sure people are getting the personal experience, that I'm calling everyone by their name, that I'm talking to them, I'm knowing them. So that's something that I really focus on, and we focus on here. So, anywhere from, it fluctuates, but we see 100 members in a day easily.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more actually. I just, what we do, our niche, if you will, is personalized group fitness. All of my coaches are personal trainers. And so when you come to a class here at Trooper, we want you to feel like you just had a personal training session with the energy you get from a group exercise class as well. So kind of a hybrid experience.
That's awesome. So going into kind of your training, I know you guys take people from all walks of life. What are some of your favorite exercises to get people into training?
To get people into training?
Yeah, or what, somebody comes to your classes. What are some of the key exercises that you think are important to kind of get a baseline level of fitness?
Okay. So let me back up just so I can answer that properly. So we don't do one type of class. Again, along with that personalized group exercise experience, what we do is, depending on what your goals are, I'll probably recommend certain classes for you and tell you how much weight you should be lifting in the strength classes. And just like I would for a personal training client, I give you a program, a map. Take this class at this time, and you have a regimen through taking class. So it's almost like you'd be working out on your own, but you have a coach and you have, people that you meet, and there's great energy. So depending on, like you said, we have several different types of people coming here, all ages, male, female, all different types of background, athletes, people that are sedentary. So everyone's different.
If your main goal is fat loss, what would be the fastest way to lose some fat with weightlifting, cardio? Do you guys do high intensity training, cardio?
We do high intensity training. I'll be frank. There's the gimmick answer for that, but I'm not into it. Cardio is not necessarily the way to lose weight. It's not, when I did my competition,
hate cardio.
Literally, the leanest I've ever been was for my competition when I came in first place, and I did not do any cardio. I changed my diet. I changed what I was eating, and I lifted a lot. So it was a lot of strength training. And
you did zero?
I did zero.
Okay, that's impressive.
It. Yeah. I'm not saying that cardio doesn't help.
Yeah. I competed and I started doing cardio real intense about 4 weeks out. Or I started cardio 4 weeks out, and then I got more intense about 2 weeks out just to dial it in. But no cardio? All right, man.
I will not BS you. Zero cardio. I'm not, and if I needed to, because if my numbers weren't going down the way I wanted to, then I would have done cardio at the end. But things were going well. Like when you have this is how I look at strength training and cardio. Strength training, you lift, and when you're done the workout, your body's recuperating. So you may burn less calories in the session, but you are burning calories residual as your body's trying to recuperate from the damage you've done, quote unquote damage. Cardio is, you'll burn a set amount of calories, and for the most part, you'll recover a lot faster. So I look at cardio. This is good. It's good. I think doing cardio is like working for your money. Strength is like investing and making residual income.
I like that.
I went there. So, but both have a place. I think both have a place. Cardio makes you feel good. Well, some people, not me, but cardio makes some people feel good. It gives them an endorphin rush, and they should do it. And it's great for your heart. I should do it for my heart, honestly. And I do it here and there. But as far as weight loss, there's a place for it, but it's not the way to lose weight.
Gotcha.
It's going to be mostly eating, honestly. It's going to be mostly eating and having a workout plan. Strength helps a lot, like I said.
So I actually do several different kinds of diets. Right now I'm off of all of them, but the holidays, man, trying to stay fit. I go through carb cycling. I do a ketogenic diet sometimes, most of the time, actually, that's what I do. And then I'll inject, carbs maybe one day a week. What kind of diet did you stay on for your fitness plan, or just to stay lean in general? Because right now I bet you probably have 6-pack abs, I'm guessing. Yeah.
I don't like to let that go. So, mostly because, my aesthetics is kind of my resume at all times. That's how I look at it. Right now, I'm not my leanest, but I'm sure, to say I'm not fit would probably piss some people off. So,
do you know your body fat percentage right now?
I don't know my body fat percentage right now. I'm currently carb cycling because I'm lean bulking. I am eating more carbs than I normally would. I'm trying to put on mass, but I don't want to fully bulk. I don't want to lose my abs. So I'm currently doing a carb cycle. I'm eating heavy carbs on like my leg days or when I really need it. And then I'll do like some days with low carbs or no carbs just to make sure, just tricking the body. Now, depending on how you do that, you can actually lose weight doing carb cycling, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Definitely. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Because you get to actually have some cheat meals.
Yeah.
I'm just going hard with the cheat meals right now to bulk. And then eventually I'll be cutting. What I did for my show and what I'll be doing when I'm ready to cut is I do a low carb diet, high protein, high fat diet. I'll have all of my carbs in the morning, and then my second meal I'll have some carbs as well. And then from then on, there's no more carb. When I say carbs, I mean starches. There's no more bread or potato or anything like that most of my day. And as I get closer to competition, I'll do no carbs at all, except for maybe in the morning I'll have oatmeal and that's it.
So just for everybody who is not familiar with carb cycling, why do you do carbs on leg day, and why do you do carbs only in the morning? Why do you skip them at night?
Good, yeah. So carbs they're your body's best or favorite source of energy, if you will. So when I have legs take so much from you. If you've ever, that's why everyone dreads. You see all the memes, leg day. Everyone's dreading leg day. It takes so much out of you because leg day really is total body. I mean, when you're squatting, you have weight on your back. Your core is engaged. Your arms are holding that weight. You're using everything to get the weight up. So it takes a lot out of you. Your leg muscles are your biggest muscle group. So you burn a lot of calories when you're recovering from that. So yeah, I'll do higher carbs on those days. And then also in the morning, here's the problem with most people's diets is that, especially American diets, we usually eat more carbs at night. Like we do it backwards, which makes no sense because carbs are for energy and you're going to sleep in a couple hours. So it doesn't really make logistical sense. So it makes sense to have your carbs in the morning where you're getting up, you've just fasted, you're about to start doing everything you're going to do, whether it's working out or getting up or traveling to work. So that would be the time of day when you need the most carbs and slowly weaning off of them. And it's very important to eat for your goals. You know, I think it's very easy to just feel like, oh, people will ask me, hey, what do you eat? And I'm not trying to lose weight. So you shouldn't eat what I'm trying to eat. So it's very hard to answer that question straight sometimes. It's like, what are your goals? What you mean, like, what are your goals? And what you really mean to ask me is, what should you be eating? Because we should not be eating the same things if we don't have the same exact goals. So
right.
It gets a little
you talk about leg day, and actually, this is great timing because I just really want to build up my legs a little bit more.
Okay.
And so I'm talking like balls to the wall, add mass. I want to put some mass on there. What should I be doing?
Without a doubt, obviously squats.
Wait, what? What are those?
Without a doubt, squats should be involved. I think I found the problem. You don't know what squats are.
All right, yeah, definitely squats.
Squats. There's variations of them, of course. The rep count and your the amount of weight you're lifting will affect how your muscles respond. Because you can train for strength, you can train for what we call hypertrophy, which is muscle mass, which is what it sounds like is your goal. You can also train for endurance. If you're an athlete and you just want your legs to you want strength and endurance, then you'd have a rep count for that.
What's your ideal rep count for
hypertrophy?
Mass, for hypertrophy, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 to 12 reps. You want to be doing about 65% to 70 to 80% of your 1 rep max should be the weight that you're doing. So it should be heavy, but enough that you can get 6 to 12 reps out. So anything between that would be hypertrophy. My favorite, honestly, is to stay lower, like 8, 10. That's my favorite numbers for hypertrophy, personally.
And if I were to go low under 6, would that be training for hypertrophy, or is that more just strength?
You're going towards max strength training. That's what powerlifters will do. Now, no matter what your goals are, you should be cycling through every one of those phases. You just spend more time in the training modality that's geared towards your goals. The reason is, and I'll use you an example, you want to build mass. You want to be in the hypertrophy phase for most of your training. What happens is after 4 to 6 weeks, your body will get used to that and it will plateau. You won't see the same results you were seeing when you first started. So for that reason, you want to cycle out into another phase just for 2 weeks or so. And then jump back into the phase that you want to work, just to shock the system. That's true muscle confusion. It's kind of became this coined term, and people are just doing anything all the time, and they're really confusing their body, and they're not getting the results they want. So strategic muscle confusion that's what you want to do.
I like that. Just like even in your diet, in your workout, you got to vary it so that your body grows more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's with mass. And I'm thinking about this. I play flag football on the weekends and have some fun, and I like to be an athlete. I don't want to just get huge legs and be stronger, I suppose, but also speed. Yeah. And so how does that play together? I mean, you're an athlete, and how does speed factor into your training? And is there some things that I can do to just very quickly increase my speed? Yeah.
There's several things you can do. You can separate those workouts, but you can also incorporate some explosive power moves to your workouts. So I can do a hypertrophy set of squats and then maybe follow up with box jumps or something just to keep my muscles ready to be quick and explode. So you can kind of do a little bit of hybrid training with that, or you can just do your lifts and then go, either go play football, or you can do like a training session that's just focused on that as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know you're still doing personal training, and I remember seeing you trained, speaking of 50 Cent himself. How was that experience?
I didn't train 50 Cent. I could say that, but that's not what happened. So,
okay. So tell me what happened.
So what happened was we did a photo shoot here for Muscle and Fitness. So I did an article for Muscle and Fitness where I had a spread with a workout and talking about my classic physique debut and just being a gym owner and things like that. And that same magazine, 50 Cent was going to be on the cover. And Muscle and Fitness asked me I didn't know that at the time. They asked me if they could check out my space to possibly use it for the cover photo shoot. And I was like, absolutely, no problem. So they said, okay, we're going to send over the photographers and see if the space will suffice. So they sent the guys over. They look around. They're like, yeah, this will work, to each other, kind of mumbled to each other. I don't know what, they kind of whispered to each other, and then they looked at me and they said, all right, I think this will work. Do you think that we could accommodate 50 Cent? We want to shoot him for the cover. Now, 50 Cent I don't care much about many celebrities. I really don't. But I grew up, as you can imagine, growing up in Brooklyn, and 2003 is when I graduated from high school. 2003 is when Get Rich or Die Trying came out, which is the album that blew up, that sold so many records. Oh yeah. So, so I was very ecstatic, but I didn't really show it too much. I just said, yeah, I think we can do that.
Yeah, we can make it happen.
Yeah. So he did come here. I gotta tell you, man, that guy, he's pretty amazing. Like I told you, he's a hybrid of a human. He came here, and because it's a photo shoot, it was kind of the greatest experience for me, because in between shoots, he's just hanging around. I happen to be the owner of the gym, so we're chatting, and he's talking to me, and he asked me questions. He's like, so what do you got going on here with Trooper? Like, what do you guys do? And blah, blah, blah. So we had good conversation. Such a down-to-earth guy, really funny. Just really shocking. Nothing about him seemed like a gangster while he was talking to me, which is kind of amazing. That's actually what happened, though. He was just shooting.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys were in the same magazine together.
Yeah.
And so that works out.
Yep.
I like that, man. How you just were saying, somebody said, hey, can we use your spot? Of course. Yeah. You had no idea it was 50 Cent, and you had to get to meet one of your, childhood rap favorites. So
yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. Definitely one of mine as well.
Yeah.
And he's super smart too with business. I think that's somebody to look up to, in a sense of somebody used rap to get out and then jumped into business. I think he did what was he in?
The vitamin water?
The vitamin water.
Yeah, that was a huge success for him. He's done a lot. Honestly, he is one of my hugest role models. But role model is such a weird word for me, because I don't want to be him, and I know that's not what role model means, but I just want people, because I can relate to him, because our upbringing is similar. I think he's he's another level with the gangster stuff. But I think that just watching him ascend definitely served as inspiration for me. I admire the way that he does what he wants. He's fearless with business. I think I can relate to that as well. But at the same time, I respect him as a businessman, but he does things that I wouldn't do at the same time too.
Yeah.
So, but I still respect that he still entertains me as he does it. So nothing but respect for him.
Yeah, that's an important thing too, is that I like to model other people as well. I've been doing it since I was a kid with sports. I see something that works for me and I apply it and I learn from them.
Right.
But I like what you said. It's not that I want to become them. I want to just use their information to become my best self, and whatever that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So we can learn from everybody, but I've got role models for business, for fitness, for relationships. I like to see the best of the best and learn what I can do, and then incorporate their knowledge into my life.
Right.
So I can avoid making all the mistakes.
Yeah, why not? It sounds efficient to me. It sounds pretty efficient.
So, speaking of some mistakes, what are some common mistakes you see in new fitness, personal trainers, people trying to break into the fitness scene or the gym scene making, and how can they avoid that?
In the fitness industry, to piggyback off of what we were just talking about, the first thing that comes to mind is trying to be someone else is not the right way to go. Definitely, like you said, it's good to role model and pay attention to what people do. It'll probably minimize the mistakes you may make. Ultimately, hopefully you're still pushing hard enough to make some mistakes of your own. But one of the common mistakes I think is like trying to be someone else, or, because they say when you copy someone, you cannot outdo someone that you're copying, so I think that would be the biggest mistake. And I think a lot of people get into the fitness industry because of Instagram and Facebook, well, just social media as a whole. I think some people get into fitness because it's so alluring. Like you see people, especially if let's say you're working in an office and you're trying to transition into fitness as a career. I advise definitely looking into what it entails, because I see a lot of people transitioning and then going back. And the reason is, so with personal training, there are people who make a lot of money and enjoy what they do. And there's some people who don't make a lot of money at all. And there's several reasons for that. Where do I start? I think some people with personal training and with fitness, likability and who you are actually is it's going to be a big part of your success. Just having the book knowledge, obviously you need to know your stuff. I mean, you can't really help anybody if you don't know how to help them. But you want to, I think there's some people who spend a lot of time on learning their craft, but you can know everything there is to know about fitness. But if you can't talk to people, if you're not a people person, you're not going to do good in this industry, because it is a very social business. People like to train with who they like. If I'm going to spend an hour with you, pretty often I prefer to like you. If you're like, because working out, there's the goals, but it's also escape for a lot of people too. So I think that's a big part of it. People overlook the personal part of personal training.
Yeah, that's a big part in any business, is people like to do business with people they like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I take that from every area, and I think personal training has a more entrepreneurial side to it. So people trying to get out of that, $35,000, $45,000, $50,000 a year salary job where they're just punching in numbers at a desk, don't realize like they're getting paid to sit there as a salary, but when you go into personal training, you get paid on basically how hard you hustle. Right. It's not just going to be given to you.
It's a result driven job. So yeah, absolutely agree with that. I mean, it is a sales job too. Personal training is a sales job. You don't, like you said, you don't make money if you're not working. You don't just sit there 9 to 5. Not to say one is better than the other, but you have to figure out if that's the lifestyle you want. And then there's the people who do too much. I think they just spend too much. They become fitness personalities, and it doesn't. I think that you can really. I mean, if you're a fitness personality, and then you don't really spend time in actually learning what to do, and learn the actual science behind what you're doing, I think that can screw you up as well. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, especially like with Instagram these days, people become these huge stars, 500,000, 1 million followers, and they sometimes don't always know what they're doing. They just become very popular social media wise, and they try to give advice, and you're just like, wait a second, does that actually work?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing too, we were talking a little bit about hustling as a personal trainer. You've got an amazing motto with Trooper Brand that I love. All we know is go.
Oh yeah.
Can you elaborate on where that came from and how that influences you guys?
All we know, I live by all we know is go. Times when I want to quit business wise, and anybody who tells you that they never felt like quitting is a liar when it comes to business, successful wise. I'm sure you could probably agree with that. There's times you go, should I, you're human. We're all human. You're going to feel a little down sometimes. But that motto just is like a reminder. It's like, all we know is go. It's like a mantra and one of the things that makes me feel really good is when members that come into class, I'll chant it a few times, when they're at work and something's pissing them off or something, family problems or whatever, relationship problems. And they tell me they hear my voice saying, all we know is go. Or they say, all we know is go. It means a lot to me because that's exactly, I want that motto to transcend the workout. It's something that made it, you know what? It's also like kind of like a cheat for me too. It's one of the reasons I couldn't quit. My job every day was telling people before I opened the gym was and is telling people, all we know is go. Don't you dare give up. You got this. Get back up. Now imagine if I quit. I would have imploded if I would have killed myself. Like, I mean, figuratively speaking, like if I didn't live, I'd be a hypocrite. I'd be the worst type of hypocrite. I brainwashed myself in a positive way, just by talking to other people. So
where did it come from?
Honestly, that's where it gets spooky because it just came out and it just sounded so good. So when I teach class, I kind of get into these rants when I'm talking. It's probably similar to yourself. It's probably why you find yourself being a motivational speaker and talking to people. I start to ramble. I just speak from the heart a lot. And usually the best speeches come out like that when I speak from the heart. And when I'm teaching boot camp, forget it, man. It's pure. It's the purest version of me you'll get. Like I start saying stuff and honestly, it was a feed off of just watching people work hard. And I just felt like, you guys are beasts. Like, I'm like, all we know is go. I wanted to empower them with what I saw them doing. Was like, it looks like you can't be stopped. Like, all we know is go. You don't know how to stop. You wouldn't stop if I told you to stop. Like, I just get fired up, and that's what came out. And
that's awesome.
It rhymed, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. All we know is go. Super cool, man, and motivates me. I mean, every time I see your posts and everything, I'm just like, yes, okay, all we know is go, and I keep on going, man.
Yeah. I'm glad that it helps you too.
Absolutely. One other thing too, just some fitness stuff. You've got some great ab workouts as well. Do you do a lot of abs, or are there specific exercises that I should focus on if I want to kind of cut down and build out my ab core exercises?
So ab exercises are great, but if you're trying to lose weight, for like say someone's trying to burn belly fat, ab exercises is not going to make you burn belly fat. It's kind of becoming commonly known now, but there's no such thing as spot reduction as far as fat loss. You can't just lose weight in one area. But if you drop your body fat and you want your abs to be more visible, then yeah, the same way you work your biceps or your chest or your glutes, or if you want it to grow, then you'd have to, again, get in that hypertrophy phase of abs. So it is very effective. My abs are more visible because of those hypertrophy exercises I do with them. So yes, there's a place for them, and I do them.
Yeah. So say I'm like in that 8 to 10% range, which I'm not, but but I get down and I want to kind of work on them. Do you recommend leg lifts, or do you use weight for ab exercises?
Yeah, I like those kind of. I like the exercise leg lifts. I don't know if you hear like shin to bars or toe to bars, they're called, where you're lifting your legs up to a pull-up bar. Ab rollouts. I like jackknife crunches, which is where you're like holding a weight. I like when your legs are being lifted. I find those to be way more effective than just like a small movement like a crunch. So the jackknife crunch, your arms and legs are extended, and you go up into a crunch. It's more of a full range of motion. So yeah, moves like that I like, or I like exercise that incorporate your abs. Some of the more advanced moves might be like a pull-up, like an L-sit pull-up. So while you're doing your pull-ups, your legs are straight. That really tears your abs. You'll be sore for sure if you do that. Windshield wipers is another great one. And there's modifications and progressions and regressions for all of these exercises, but those are the ones that I find very effective.
Awesome, man. So one of the things that I believe in is the 80-20 rule. And basically 80% of our results come from about 20% of our actions. But one of the hardest things is figuring out the right actions to take. Okay. So I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, all right, what is something that someone who's listening to this today for an entrepreneurship journey, or wants to become a fitness coach or a personal trainer, what's one action that they should absolutely take to get started in their journey? So I would back it up and say whatever
we kind of said it, like I would look at first I would assess your goal, like what you think you want to do, and think about what it would take to get to it. Like map it out, like write it down. Like what would it take for me to get it? If it doesn't make you nervous, figure something else out, because it should make you nervous, because that nervousness, that fire you're going to need that on days, and they're going to happen very often. They're going to happen. You're going to need it on days when you feel like quitting, or when curveballs come at you. And that's the biggest part I think about business, is that people don't anticipate the curveballs. There's always, I'm ready every morning for curveballs. Like I run a gym, and you open a gym and you think about like, I got to make sure the classes are running right. I got to make sure the coaches are here. Then a freaking pipe busts in the bathroom. I got to get that fixed. The AC is not working. I got to get that fixed. Just someone's membership, like just different things that you don't anticipate. The floor gets broken. The wall gets broken. I got to get that fixed. The equipment's now, and you got to be on top of those things. So those are curveballs. So just make sure you map out all of the miscellaneous things that might pop up. And believe me, whatever you write down, there's going to be more. And just try to think of every possible thing that could go wrong that you could think of. And if you still want to do it, and you're nervous and you're fired up about it, then pull the trigger. And when that is the case, write the plan out. Start with the first step, and just vow to yourself to never look back.
I love it.
That's what I'd say.
Absolutely. Is there?
When I say never look back, I'm contradicting myself, because I do look back, but don't stop.
Right. I got you, man. I got you. Look back to appreciate how far you've come.
Right.
But don't ever stop.
Right.
All we know is go.
Boom.
Yeah. So also too, as a personal trainer, if you could only do 1 or 2 exercises every day for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Oh man, that's just mean. I definitely I'm a strong advocate of pull-ups. I think pull-ups are great. I think pull-ups are a great one, because it is, people think of it as a back exercise, but you're definitely working your arms, your back, your core. And honestly, a pull-up could save your life one day. I just think it's so functional.
Yeah, right.
I think any of us are planning to be hanging from a building, but
you never know.
You just never know. You never know. And
I love that.
And then honestly, either a squat or I could cheat and say like a clean squat press, because that's total body, right? Like if you do a squat and a press, that counts as an exercise. Boom, that's it.
Sure.
Pull up and
okay. There we go, man. Right on.
Yep.
Prince, this has been an amazing interview, man. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on social media. My handle is pretty much the same for everything. It's at Trooper Prince on Instagram, at Trooper Prince on Twitter, at Trooper Prince on Facebook, and I'm even on Snapchat, same thing. That's social media. And then obviously trooperfitness.com would be the website for my actual studio.
Fantastic. And I know you're posting videos every day with different exercises. We only want to do a few today, but there's definitely hundreds of videos on your guys' accounts that I know I learned from.
And I've got a lot more coming too. I'm really ramping it up. I'm gonna start dropping some more. Just trying to help people, that's all.
I love it, man. I love it. So, Trooper Prince, what is your next level of success?
My next level of success is when I can start the next level, not the end. The next level is, like I said, when I expand and I am overseeing managers, people who are doing what I'm doing right now. When I open up and have more than one studio, I'm really looking forward to helping each manager, each one of my apprentices get to the next level. And as I grow, I want people, that work for me to grow as well. So
I love it. It's an amazing mission, man. I fully support it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you for involving me. I think this is a great idea. I got excited when you asked me. So once again, thanks again.
If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action. Subscribe to the podcast and get ready to unleash success in you.